Hello everyone, my name is Colette Stein and I would like to welcome you to the first episode of the Cronkite File. We are here to bring you the latest and the greatest in all genres of news. Forget about going through multiple sources to get your daily scoop. We've got you covered. And to start off our first show, let's throw it over to Alexis Burdine with local news.
Thanks, Colette. In local news, a body was reported to be found dead in the water in Avondale on Sunday. After teenagers spotted a body in the canal while fishing, they called their parents, who then called the police. The Avondale Police Department said a deceased, unidentified man was located. The canal is located near Indian School and Litchfield. Nationally, on Friday, the well-known affluenza teen was moved to an adult jail. Ethan Couch is the once teen, now adult from Texas, who was on trial in 2013 for a fatal drunken driving crash, whose lawyers invoked affluenza as a defense, something not commonly used. Couch recently violated his probation by fleeing to Mexico with his mother. Now that Couch is back in the States, his days of being detained in a juvenile detention center appear to have come to an end. On Sunday, it was reported that New York officials will begin to investigate a nuclear power plant. The upstate plant's radioactive water leaked into the groundwater below, according to New York Governor Andrew Cuomo, who is wanting a full investigation to take place despite reports that the contaminated water had not leaked off-site nor poses an immediate threat to the health of the public. And in world news, on Saturday, it was reported that an earthquake hit Taiwan with a magnitude of 6.4. The quake sent a high-rise apartment building tumbling down while most residents were asleep. And now, more than 100 people remain missing, while at least 34 are dead.
Thanks, Alexis. After an exciting week of football and a big game for Peyton Manning, Super Bowl 50 is what everyone is talking about. Let's send it to Jade Hansen with more in sports.
ASU's welcoming of the 18 new players for the 2016 recruiting class wrapped up this past Wednesday with National Signing Day. The Sun Devils scored 2 of the top 3 players in the state, signing wide receiver N'Keal Harry and safety Chase Lucas, both coming out of Chandler High School. Harry, ranked 22nd in the ESPN 300, is the #1 receiver in the country and the #1 recruit coming out of the state of Arizona. Both players received offers from Washington, Oregon, Texas, UCLA, Utah, Louisville, and Colorado. Lucas got on the field as a running back for Chandler, but in his transition to ASU, he said he's going to be utilized as either a safety or a cornerback, or even possibly a slot receiver. Both players are great pickups for ASU, especially with both of them coming from in-state. They should be key parts of the Sun Devils' attack in seasons to come. Super Bowl 50. I have 2 things to say about this. Congrats to the Sheriff, and defense wins championships. I will say that until the day I die. Denver C did not show up to mess around, and even though Carolina's offense couldn't get much done against them Sunday night, Denver's offense doesn't have much room to brag. The Broncos' offense failed time and time again, failing to convert on 3rd downs. At the end of the first half, Denver started a roll where they were missing 7 third downs in a row, only to continue that roll into the second half. Aqib Talib and Trey Boston both received 2 personal fouls throughout the game, and if Goodell were to have it his way, both players would have been ejected. Everything in the game seemed to be controlled besides Talib and Boston's emotions and the Broncos' defense. Again, congrats to Peyton and the Denver Broncos, and we are all eagerly waiting for the final statement on retirement. Hope you enjoyed those beers that were on Von Miller, Mr. Manning.
Thank you, Jade. We are all on the edge of our seat waiting to hear what Manning has to say. But as for Cam Newton, well, that's a different story. Even though Cam might not be feeling so warm and fuzzy, Arizona sure is. Here's Anthony Luna with the weather.
Hello everybody, let's take a look at this week's forecast. Now recently it's been somewhat chilly in the valley with temperatures reaching the low 70s, but now we have some beautiful weather here starting in the low 80s. Throughout the week we'll see that number start to rise a little bit with sunny skies as well. Perfect time to go outside with no signs of rain approaching whatsoever. But don't put away your sweaters just yet. Those overnight lows are going to reach down to as low as 51 degrees, a big drop compared to the daytime. So now returning to the low 80s, Phoenix will see a high of 84, 85 in Yuma, 82 in Tucson, and other cities slowly starting to get warmer, 79 in Havasu, 67 in Prescott, and the lowest being 53 in Flagstaff. But coming towards the nighttime, it'll be 45 in Tucson, 52 in Havasu, 57 in Yuma, 34 in Prescott, and 51 in Phoenix. Nationally, we see the East Coast, most of the Midwest stuck in near freezing temperatures. New York with a high of 36, Chicago at 18, and those cities expecting to see snow. The West is much warmer as expected, Los Angeles at 82, Seattle at 64, and some places is cold, but not winter temperatures just yet. Cities such as Dallas and Miami also barely creeping into the heat with highs of 64, 68. Now there's also wind advisories in Southern California from San Diego to Los Angeles, with Santa Ana winds picking up to 25 miles an hour. There are also flood warnings up and down the East Coast, Jacksonville to Raleigh, including another wind advisory around South Florida. You can also expect to see high pressure swarming into the central U.S. Meanwhile, the low is pushed towards the Atlantic after that heavy rainfall this past weekend. And that's today's forecast.
Thanks, Anthony. I know all of us here at the Cronkite File are looking forward to that great weather. Now let's talk entertainment. What a week it has been for hip-hop. First, Rihanna dropped her new album titled Anti, which had people buzzing, especially with her hit song Work featuring Drake.
Speaking of Drake, he premiered a new song on Apple Radio to get us anticipated for his upcoming album, Views from the Six, where he takes more shots at Meek Mill and even a slight diss to another fellow Toronto artist, Tory Lanez, in his new song, Summer 16. Then Drake's good buddy Future, fresh off of dropping a mixtape 3 weeks ago, decides to give us even more music as he released a new album titled Evolve.
Yes, Chance, in addition to that, Young Thug, the popular rapper outside of Atlanta, released his mixtape, I'm Up, on the same day as Future. And if that wasn't enough, Beyonce, yes, the Queen Bee herself, debuted her single and music video, Formation, that had her Twitter on fire. Oh, and she also announced her world tour, Formation, on Super Bowl Sunday.
So in 1 week, we got albums and mixtapes from Rihanna, Future, and Young Thug, and songs from Drake and Beyonce. February is already off to a hot start, and this is only the first week. But the entertainers aren't the only ones making headlines. Things are heating up for politicians trying to make their way to the White House. For more on this, let's take it over to Austin Bundy.
Thanks, Chance. It's election night in New Hampshire. The race for the nomination is heating up even more tonight on both sides as the candidates make their final pitches to voters across the state. But let's start with the GOP. Controversy is shaking Texas Senator Ted Cruz's campaign after voicemail messages to Iowa caucus goers were released by his campaign office last Tuesday, appearing to inform precinct captains that Dr. Ben Carson would be suspending his campaign after the caucuses and his supporters should caucus for Cruz instead. The Carson campaign denied any suspension would be taking place and accused the Cruz campaign of lying at the ABC debate Saturday night. Senator Cruz apologized to Carson later, but it is unclear if this will cause any change in the results tonight. Meanwhile, fight night in New Hampshire heated up even more at the ABC debate, with New Jersey Governor Chris Christie coming out swinging with his back against the wall on Florida Senator Marco Rubio, saying he threw inaccurate information at him and then recited the same 25-second prepared speech his advisors told him to say. Taking a look at the most recent poll, Donald Trump leads the pack with 34%, and Rubio and Cruz are tied for second with 13% going into today. It seems that the, quote, Markomentum, as Rubio's followers call it, was swinging in his direction until Christie stepped in his way Saturday night. His plan for Iowa was to finish third, then second in New Hampshire, and winning the rest from South Carolina on. We'll see if the dominoes fall in his favor tonight. And now turning to the Democratic race. After Thursday night's debate, the race for the nomination all but loosened up. After a virtual tie in Iowa, Sanders is dominating the polls in New Hampshire. And since December, Clinton has lost 17% in the Quinnipiac poll, while Sanders has gained 12%. And even with Sanders' 16-point lead in New Hampshire going into tonight, Clinton still leads by 2 points nationally. And we had some local news break this weekend. ASU sophomore Jimmy Arwood announced his candidacy for precinct committeeman. He seems to be off to a good start, receiving a key endorsement from State House candidate Kelly Butler on Saturday. For more, check out my article where I got to interview Arwood on thecronkitefile.net. That's it from the politics desk. Back to you, Colette.
Well, everybody, that's all the time we have for you today. We hope you all enjoyed the show and will be tuning in to watch us next week. For more on The Cronkite File, visit our website, thecronkitefile.net, for daily articles and more. I'd like to say thank you to our technical director, Matthew O'Donnell, for making this show possible, and thank you all again for tuning in. Once again, my name is Colette Stein, and this has been The Cronkite File. See you next week.